Happy
going
Sunday.
on?
Long time no hear from.
Happy Sunday, happy Sunday. Well, we're glad to be back. It's been a long road.
This has been a journey. We've been out here like the Israelites.
Tell them what it's about, baby. This is unifying the nomadic community, Visionaries Inc. It's all about bringing light to families and helping get through situations, deal with different circumstances. Help elevate our community. And we have a lot of trouble within the family. So me and my wife decided that with our journey of learning each other, we was going to share some of our journeys and some of our experiences and some
Oh,
of our ups and downs.
some of our trials and errors. Sometimes I get an A plus, sometimes I get a D minus.
And we trade off with that. You know what I mean? It's vice versa. It's never one side to anything.
Mm-mm.
But we're glad to be back. Um, what you want to say, babe?
Oh, I missed you guys. We've been so busy. I tell you, there are so many people who want to be used by God until you used by God. When He used you, you are so busy. But it's such a delight when you do stuff unto God because you're not looking for nothing in return. You can see Him like demonstrating, like using you as a vessel, like really a live person. You know how some things are just like you watch it on TV or you might read a book or listen to a song. But it's such a beautiful thing when God can, you can hear from Him, He give you instructions and kind of show you where you're needed. And so once you're fulfilling in that area that you're needed in, it's like, wow, like thank you for thinking of me to do this.
Let's start having the table, baby. We got
Tap
this
tap.
little rigged up, so we got to keep it steady.
Very slow and
But that's
steady.
why we came back with learning to lead with love. Because a lot of times when you get into a disagreement or a conflict within your family, your relationship, we tend to fight dirty. You tend to have disagreements, and you go for the juggler, and you try to hurt each other. And I think my wife and me probably said it before: hurt people,
Mhm.
and we're all dealing with trauma. We all dealing with past history of relationships, parenting. You know, we were children at one point, so our parents might not have had all the tools that they needed to give us the proper understanding on how to be in relationships. So I hope that's something that everybody looks at and realize when you're in a relationship that, it's no handbook. It's a lot of books, it's a lot of self-help books, podcasts, and everything out there. But the fact of it is, nobody has the ultimate answer because we're so different. Everybody is so unique. So learning how to love, and even when you're fighting and fussing, learning how to fight and fuss in peace, where you're not hurting, you're not going after. If you get to that point, you know, like in boxing, you get your, what is it, 3 4 minute break,
Mhm.
and then you come back at it, or you just might need a day or two. But
Mhm.
always think about the fact, me and my wife has figured out that we're the only ones coming for one another. And I think if you realize that your partner is your only source of comfort and peace and love and caring and compassion for you, then it makes it easier to forgive.
Mhm. I agree with that. My husband was talking about tools, and by my dad being a mechanic, it made me think about our parents give us certain tools, but them tools may not be qualified to do certain jobs. And so you don't throw all the tools away that you've been given. You may have to go add some more tools to your toolbox
Mm-hmm.
because you require different types of understanding, different types of patience. So with that being said,
And the times are changing. The
mhm,
different times,
mhm,
really affects how you deal with situations. Like the way we were raised, you can't raise these new, what you call them, baby?
Zing
The
zing.
ding ding. The ding
Dings.
ding ding
The
ding.
zing. I think I'm part zing. I think we have to bring a lot of understanding to the youth.
I'll be trying to hide my little hair. I'll be
There's your
trying to hide
hair.
my
I
little
got my
hair.
hair twisted today by Miss Destiny. I appreciate it. I felt like a queen sitting in my chair or my husband's chair. And she did my hair and she was so gentle with my hair. I didn't even feel her hand in my head. But what I was saying is that, you know, we have to learn. Like if you're working on a car, and since you brought up toolbox, you know, I'm a two-man daughter, that like if you're working on something and you know you got part of it right, but you can't figure the other part out, you don't go tear it up and rip it up and throw the pieces everywhere. Sometimes you have to take your time, sit back, think about it, and get the piece that you really need to fix the part of the car. A lot of times we leave out, because I know for myself, I was putting together a dresser and I just felt like I was just going to put it together. And what happened was I
Because my
missed
baby
it.
didn't have the patience. See, she be
I
trying to
didn't,
leave out
no,
certain things. She
see,
didn't
we
have
not,
the patience to
yeah,
wait for her husband
because,
that she has to ask to do it for her.
yeah,
And I was going to do it for her.
I was coming around that mountain, but, you know, sometimes we're learning to time is of the essence.
Yeah.
Time.
But
Timing.
it truly takes more time to have to redo it.
Timing of the essence.
And it's just a learning
I was
lesson.
coming down that street.
Okay.
Where
I'll let you get on your street.
I was on the street, but I had, you know, GPS like take a U-turn, take a U-turn. So I was trying to put it together, but I didn't read the instructions because I felt like
Peek out for a minute. Go ahead, baby.
I felt like it was I could just go ahead and, you know, bing, bing, bang, bang. It looked very simple. But then I was like, this don't look right. And so, you know, that one time when you really don't want to ask for help because you was told to wait, you want to go ahead and do it yourself. And so my husband was looking like, you don't know what you're doing. But he didn't say that, but it was written on his face. And I was like, babe, can you help me?
I was chilling.
He was like, yeah, give me a minute. And so he took his time and he fixed what I had, my conjunction that I had. I didn't go take it apart and throw it away. But sometimes when we're in a hurry, or we want everything to be on our time. Like this morning, I planned on Destiny. She's in town, so I was like, well, can you do my hair? Just, you know. So she ended up coming. The kids ended up coming, and we was gonna do the podcast this morning. And so we had all this stuff going on. And I noticed that my husband was like, well, babe, just go ahead and get your hair done. And so I was thinking it in my mind, but then I realized, I said, he's allowing the day to just flow. It could have went different. I could have got frustrated with him. He could have got frustrated with me. I could have got irritated with everything that was going on just because when you make plans, you have to understand that sometimes plans are just that. They're planned, but if it doesn't happen, everything that we needed to do today, it got done, not necessarily in the order that I had in my mind. But when you stay out of things like emotionally and trying to control everything around you, you end up getting to the same place where none of the stress, none of the frustration, and actually enjoying your day. So, babe, can you kind of tell him about, because I seen him kind of like pause. He was watching everything that was going on around us, like, okay, my mom had the kids, and then Destiny came. It was just like a lot of back and forth. And he kind of just looked. And so once I looked at him, I was looking at him, observe the situation. I was like, okay, well, let me start my Sunday dinner before I get involved with my hair because I don't want to prolong my day of getting stuff started. So the fact that he was like calm enough to just be still, and when he was still, it's like I was able to be still and say, okay, let's move forward. You can move forward without necessarily executing everything at one time.
because you're being, a lot of times we get overwhelmed.
That's true.
And when so many things are going on at one time, it's best to step back and pause. And we're so used to just keep going and going and going and going like an Energizer bunny. But reality is that Energizer bunny got batteries,
Hmm.
and the batteries do die. But we never look at the concept of the energy inside of us getting drained out because we're trying to force something instead of just allowing it to flow. I've been saying this for the past month or so, how we're so complex in the way we move to the point that we don't allow nothing to flow. We don't allow nothing to come to us. And
Hmm.
God has created the world in that way. The energy that you put out will gravitate back towards you. But you got to be a person that's giving out that positive energy. Because whatever you give out, trust me, it's going to come back. People want to call it karma. You can call it karma.
Really,
Reality is what you said, right?
they say you reap what you sow,
Yeah, you live by the sword, you die by the sword.
and that's true.
Reality is a lot of my friends, family members, they live by the sword. And a lot of them are not here because of those same reasons. Love them, miss them. The relationships we had may not have been to that degree, but I was able to observe their movement.
Hmm.
And it could have been easy for me to be one of those ones that was lost and has lost their life to the different types of upbringing and the different types of surroundings that we was adapted to.
That's true, and I think a lot of times as humans, when they say you reap what you sow, because you change, don't mean you're not gonna reap what you sow. I do feel like
So
sometimes,
be aware of it. Be aware of
sometimes
it.
with the mercy and grace that God gives us, He also is a teacher. And I'm gonna tell you for a fact that when something happens to you that is uncomfortable or ugly, if you could just sit still long enough, it's like God will give you an opportunity to show you you. It could be something 15 years ago. And I don't think God is like a tick for tat God. I don't think it's that way. I think it is constantly reminding us of how far we have came, but it's also allowing us to understand that we all belong to Him. And if you make somebody feel a type of way, it's different when you can feel. You know how like if you're the giver of a type of action and you never receive the backlash of what you've done to somebody, you don't really know the damage that you're causing. But once God allow you to feel some of the stuff that you dish out, that causes even more change. I can say personally for me, it has caused even more change. Like you don't know what hurt feelings are until yours are hurt. You don't know what, being a certain type of way is until you rejection or whatever you may deal
But
with.
sadly, people don't equate them to. They don't put that together like that. And
That's
that's
just
what
an
I mean,
example.
not being held accountable. When we grow up and we're never held accountable, you don't put together the fact that I was that person.
Hmm.
I did those things to others. A lot of times we sit back and we want to say, "Oh, woe is me." We want to start that pity party
Hmm.
as if you're the victim now. But how many times was you the predator? And someone else was the prey. So you got to get to that understanding of knowing when something goes on with you, don't get so frustrated that you're ready to react, attack, and go after someone.
Hmm.
Calm down and understand that this is something I've done to someone else. I've been blessed to be able to see that, and I really want to give the credit to God. I really want to give that credit to the relationship that I've been building with God throughout my adult life and growing up, even young life. Just understanding that even in my wrong, I still had a positive mindset of what God was in my life.
Hmm.
If you can understand that, it's a different type of feeling when you're out here in the streets, but you still understand who God is, and you're constantly talking and you're constantly trying to become a better person. So when things go left, I can't get so upset because I have to I have to remind myself that I was that one holding the just to say I was the one holding the gun that day. I was the one. My mother-in-law say it's not funny when the rabbit got the gun, and it's just a old time, I guess, cartoons. She watched a lot of cartoons, and it's different when the hunter is the one being hunted.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have to sit back and just really think about it. Like, do you go and lose your mind and say, "Oh, anger takes over,"
Mm-hmm.
or are you going to mature and grow up and say, "I have been that person. I've done these things. And this is nothing but God showing me how I made someone else feel." Because that's the biggest thing of learning how to love one another. That's the biggest problem a lot of relationships has because we never step into the other person's shoes.
Mm-hmm.
You never step out of yourself to observe the fact that you're being abusive, you're being ugly. Oh, well, I was treated that way, so why shouldn't I?
Mm-hmm.
No, that's not the right way. The right way is to understand the way you was treated. You don't want to treat someone else that way because you know that pain.
That's something we discussed. Um, One thing is a lot of times I'm going back to the toolbox. I'm gonna call this toolbox Sunday. Um, we use what our parents have taught us, and in reality, when I feel like personally with my marriage, there's things that I learned from my parents, but I'm a different type, and my husband is different. So you can't use somebody else's rules for your relationship and your marriage. My expectations or my needs could be very well different than my mother's or my father's. So you come to a standstill. It's my mom and daddy versus his mama and daddy and his aunts. That's what it comes
Yeah,
to.
you're constantly
You're
competing.
constantly competing or comparing what's right or wrong. No, those people have had their own individual situations. Now it comes, you know, I realize we've had disagreements or misunderstandings because one didn't see it the way that they saw it coming up or the way they were taught. But in reality, we're not raising
I'm
each
getting
other.
hot, y'all.
You're
It's
drinking this
hot
hot
today.
tea. We're not raising each other. We both are adults. We're
Hmm.
mutually
Hmm.
married, and we have to come to a you know, a
I
sit down,
understand that.
understanding what works for us.
Hmm.
It's no
Not for nobody else's house.
no carbon copies, of what our marriage would look like, learning to agree to disagree, but also keep respect in the center of it. And
And
I,
usually, when you keep God involved in your relationship, it's going to correct you because when you're reaching and going and thriving in that direction of wanting to do better and be better within your relationship, not be so aggressive. Not my issue was um, I, I'm passionate when I speak. So sometimes when we have a disagreement, my passion may be taken by her as aggressiveness.
mhm,
And we have to understand just because I want to label it as passion, she's labeling it as aggression.
mhm,
And if she's feeling that I'm being aggressive, I have to respect how she feels. I
mhm,
can't make her take in my passion when she's feeling threatened or feeling what's the word? Feeling attacked.
mhm,
So now I need to regroup. I need to look at how I'm giving it, how I'm speaking, my tone, my level, my voice level. What am I doing to create this type of friction that my wife feels like it's not passion, babe. It's you're being aggressive.
mhm,
I don't certain things that we've been through in our childhood makes certain things affect us differently. And that's that trauma that we talked about before. When you have childhood trauma, the way I'm speaking, I say it's passion. This might be something that's a trigger to her from her childhood that makes her feel threatened.
mhm,
Even though we're never, me and my wife, we don't, that's one thing. Keep your hands to yourself.
mhm,
You got too much issues, too much raised voices. Walk away.
Mhm.
Take a minute. Because ultimately, I was talking to my brother the other day at the barbershop, and he was telling me about what his wife went through. I was telling about a family member that went through a little trial. That's what we've been doing for the past month or so. That's why we really ain't had time
We ain't had time.
to be on this podcast. And that's something that we really want people to understand. When real life hits, you have to make a choice.
Mhm.
Are we going to be the ones that serving, or are we going to be the ones that sitting back, not serving, not helping, not trying to not bring the spirit of God to a person that really needs that encouragement?
Mhm.
So with this scenario, brother, he was telling me back in 2000 or something, his wife went through a similar situation. He said, man, he said, it made our relationship so much stronger. And I said, you know, one of the keys with that situation, I said, because you realize that all the disagreements and arguments you may have, nothing mattered at that moment.
Mhm.
At that moment, when they rushed his wife in the emergency room, rushed her into the surgery, he lost it. Nothing else mattered.
Mhm.
That morning they were laughing and playing. By that evening, she's having emergency surgery. So don't allow the pettiness of life to affect your love that we need to give one another. That's the only true thing God wants from us. I don't think he cares about your job. I don't think he cares about your career. I think he cares about how we treat and love and take care of one. That's the ultimate, because when you leave here, none of these things follow you. Your accolades are just that, but they're going to still be here, and you're going to be done moved on.
I think that's true. I think something my grandmother said to us when we got engaged. She said, "Don't go to bed mad."
And keep your hands to yourself.
She's like, "Come here." She's like,
Don't be putting your hands
she
on
told
each other.
Jay, she was like, "Don't put your hands on my youngin." She looked at me, "Don't you put your hands on him?" But you know how like she gave that advice probably 5 or 6 years ago, and I realized this week that if you go to bed mad, guess what you're gonna do?
Wake up, man.
Wake up mad, and the other person like, who is
Good
that?
morning.
I thought we was.
Good morning to you. Good
He's like, good
morning.
morning, and they like, he's like, hello. And it's amazing because what happens is we steal from our new today by bringing
Mhm.
in that old
Yesterday.
yesterday, and we are taking advantage, and we're taking our opportunities, which is called life for granted. And when you take life for granted, you can't get it back. You really can't. It's almost like
And you're losing time,
you're losing time, and you are.
draining energy.
I'm telling you, like
It's
this
exhausting.
last 5 weeks has been um very I've been full of energy. I have been just praying constantly. I've been kind of a warrior because when something's going on, I get into this war mode of protection and overseeing situations. But it has also humbled me as a person. You know how when you see things and people going through stuff and you can see the will of God, transpiring in their life. But it's another thing when you can see that this challenge has not only helped change them, but it's helped changing
Changing you.
you. It's changing you to be able to see my husband go tirelessly and serve my family member with love and
Our
understanding.
family member.
Our family member, probably, yeah, because I'm the cops. But
Because I live like with everybody is my family. I love
yeah,
my wife will tell you, I'm a loving person. I love us. We've been torn apart so much, and I was blessed to I guess that's the part of the relationship with God that he showed me,
hmm
is to love on people,
hmm
because so many of us are going through it, and we lack the love. We lack someone giving us that handshake and hug that goes hand in hand. When I shake a hug, and that's just what I come from. That's how me and my boys greet each other.
Mhm.
And a lot of times we'll let go of your hand and we might give you a two-arm hug
Mhm.
because we know as men we needed it. Coming from the streets and coming from where we came from, you needed that support and good relationships. My wife will tell you when we are out everywhere we go, we're talking. Just someone is
Mhm.
gonna. God is showing us the energy that we're bringing draws people in.
Mhm.
Everywhere we go, someone is and say something loving, something caring, something inspirational, or just a simple hello. Someone will stop their car to speak to them. And that feels good because at that point, like I said to my wife, that tells us God sees. He's approving of how we're moving. He's approving of how we're loving on one another.
Mhm.
You practice with your mate how to be more loving outside of your home and with others. You practice within your home.
That's true because I think that's a lot of resentment when you are kinder or showing more love to an outsider than your insider. Now you're digging holes for your life and your
Because everybody
relations
else can get your good, but
partners.
the ones inside your home
Yeah,
gotta be on pins and needles.
it doesn't
That
equate.
doesn't add up.
And I think being
That
friends,
math just ain't math, and as my baby said.
that math ain't math, and um, well, and another thing that I realized is that when people are going through dark times in their life, please, people, if you're going through something too, leave them alone because they're in a state of emergency. They can't try to figure out what's wrong with you. They can't
They
really
can't
comfort.
fix nothing.
They can't fix anything. Your job is to walk in with the biggest smile you can muster. And I'm not saying being fake, but if you don't have it to give, you can't draw from an empty cup. And so
And when a person is going through something, their cup is empty.
they really are depleted emotionally and spiritually and physically. They really need to be able to pull, and you need to be able to pour. And so a lot of times we play so much with God that we don't spend time with Him. We're not seeking Him. We're not reading. We're not trying to draw into our souls and hydrate with His goodness and His mercy. And so when somebody, we become the leeches. We
Mm.
supposed to be the help, but we the leeches. Now you wonder why this person not feeling better, getting worse every time you come, because you're bringing in a state of chaos. Like even if I'm honestly, if I don't have a little small attitude, I'm not gonna come around because I know that this individual doesn't need any of my problems. They have a
They
thousand
don't need
problems.
my
They don't
mess.
need my problems. It's to the point where if I'm busy or kind of tired and I'm not at 100%, my baby will go, and I'll just like, oh, I'll catch up tomorrow if I've been doing a lot because I have to understand my needs too. And so sometimes we don't spend that time that we need to rehydrate our spirits, and we end up being something that we don't need to be. One of my neighbors was going, she had some great news, and my baby went and got a balloon and cards. I'm baking cookies, and she doesn't say much. And so I was just expecting to pass her the gift and, just come back in the house. And she actually just kind of told me how they felt about me. And I was just like, that's how they see me. And I was thinking to myself, like, you're not too bad, huh? Because I don't try to exalt myself or think highly of myself, like, oh, God loves me and I'm special and all of this. And so I said, God, I said, because we have this beautiful skyline above our house. I looked up and I said, God, thank you for using me. And I said, so you telling me I can't be a thug no more? And it was just funny because when you're doing the will of God, you don't even see what others see. You're busy just serving. You're trying to love people in spite of how I may feel at times, in spite of how I may respond at times. But I really do try to treat people well.
And things gonna come at you,
Hmm.
especially when you're in that zone. That's
Hmm.
why you gotta be aware and start learning that life is to observe.
Hmm.
You have to live, but you have to observe it. And being a person to observe it gives you enough time to not get involved in things that's not necessary for you to even entertain.
Hmm.
So when something comes at you from the left, you can literally, just like in football, you can dip, dodge, you shift, cut back, put a spin move,
Hmm.
and all that negative energy misses you.
Hmm.
And when you get in your spirit and your soul in order, it's not even going to affect you because you're already seeing it coming. You're
Hmm.
already prepared. You must stop preparing yourself and stop. Like I said, we got to lose that victim mindset. It's not happening to such and such, and they do way worse than we do. Listen, your life is your life.
Hmm.
Your journey is your journey. Your situations are yours. Trust me, everyone from the rich to the poor, everyone has their own problems.
And don't let your ego get in. I'm telling you, your ego is edging God
Edging
out.
God out.
Because I'm telling you right now, somebody can say or do something. The courage that it takes to walk away. And we're saying that when you're serving God and you're doing what's right, don't expect wrong to not come looking for you. You're going to draw in a lot of good, a lot of righteousness, but you're also going to have distractions. And sometimes you are the distraction.
Right? So,
Sometimes you are the problem. You can create a problem
hmm
within your unit just because I feel personally that the enemy can't allow you to see how good you really are. I got to show you that old you. I got to show you that's not really you. That's just the you, 2 or 3 days a
it's
week.
constantly wanting to pull you back in.
It's
I
constantly.
had
It's
to tell
like,
a young brother the other day, I was like, listen, man, I said, if you're going to let them trick you out of your game, we allow people in situations to determine what we're going to be and who we are. You can't allow something to take you away from who you know you're meant to be. Because
mm,
like she said, a lot of times it's you.
mm,
When you're not willing to look, turn that mirror around, take a look at yourself. Because then you can start correcting some of the things. The long as you're in that battle to point the finger, you're constantly going to lose. The battle is not outside of you. The battle is inside of you,
it's how
your
you
mind.
it's how you respond to things. And I feel like a lot of times we wanted to discuss individual happiness. And this would go for anybody. Like if you're having a good day and you happy, 10 out of 10, you won't even want no smoke. You're like, man, I'm doing good today. I ain't got time today. But if you wake up and you like in a phone call, somebody don't, somebody done made you mad. Now you ready. You ready for the next person because you felt like you lost that first one. Now your whole state of mind is going to the left and right. Try to keep yourself in a positive mindset because if you don't, it's easily to be distracted because now your mind, you don't gave it like 60% of negative, that 40% is trying to pull you back over, but sometimes it's hard because life is hard. By no means serving God and doing right that we just wake up and our life is perfect. But you have to intentionally get up and say, you know what? Thank you. Get up. A lot of times I
Give
get
God
up,
his time.
give him his time. Like me, I like to read at night. I've done this since I was 17 years old. I want to read every night. If I'm not exhausted, I want God to know that, and it could be anything. But during that time, I'm thinking about him and I appreciate him and watching over me and all of these great things that he does for me on a daily basis. I have a gratitude list. So I've been reading books. I'm on my eighth book. And I started a book and I was like, oh, I don't really like this book. I said, but I want to read it so I can be a book ahead. And my spirit said, no, you don't have to read it. So what I've done in place of reading the book, I've been writing my own gratitude book. And the things that are coming out of this may seem simple, but the things I've been noticing has been causing a deeper level of appreciation within my soul that I need. Sometimes you got to dig deep down within yourself to be able to say thank you. I mean, y'all, it's to the point where I'm thankful that I can drink out of a straw, something I had never thought about. So when I drink out my straw, it's like, oh, thank you. Just the little things. We try to make life so complicated, from elections to cars to gas, all these things. It's just like a wave. We're just a small grain of sand or
They're
salt.
just here to pull you away from God.
Hmm.
Most of the things in this world and on this planet is to draw you away from that peace. And the sad part about it is everything that most of us do, we're always craving peace.
Hmm.
I always want that. I don't want no drama. I don't want to have to deal with this. But you're just the opposite. Your
Hmm.
attitude is just the opposite of peace. Your character, your your energy breathes off toxic energy, and you're constantly in conflict with people, and you're wondering what's going on. And
Hmm.
like we're saying, you're not looking at your own actions because you're constantly in and out of situations. Some part of it has to look back and say, what's the common denominator? When the common denominator is you, if you're the one person that's having problems over here at work, you're having problems over here at your in-laws, you're having problems in your house, you're having problems at your friend's house, you're the problem.
Hmm.
It's everybody else might have their own stuff, but if you having problems everywhere you move,
Hmm.
something is coming up. Please realize that that comes from you. You can change that. And learning how to flow through life, learning how to allow the flow of things just to move you, not getting attached to conversations that's not entertaining to your spirit. Don't get me wrong, we have a good time. Like I said, I go barbershops, I go talk to fellas, and sometimes we're just jiving around, and it's nothing negative. We're not fussing. We're not trying to be ugly. It's kind of encouraging um, because it's a group of men, and we're not trying to tear each other down. Even if we get little sly, little crack jokes in to make each other laugh, you know what I'm saying? But most of the time, especially with each one of us being married, we can joke about things. We can bring up topics. Like we was visiting our family member, and we just got into a whole conversation literally that went on for an hour just about how our women are and how the husband is and how that couple is so much like us and we're so much like them. You'll be amazed. Most of the things that people have that tit for tat behavior about is common. It's
Hmm.
common with each family, each household.
Hmm.
So it's not something that's so outrageous that you have to lose your mind about, but you do have to understand that it takes away from the love. And me myself, just being vulnerable, I have emotional issues with just being me for all these years and working on trying to be a better me. You know what I'm saying? And always being that one that was in control. Excuse me. So now I'm working on relinquishing that power. My statue brings power. So I don't have to voice it. My tone, my voice breathes power. I don't have to show it. I can be that calm person. I can be that loving person. I can put that smile on my face. I can laugh. I can enjoy life. But when you've been through so many different things, some days it's not easy. And those are the days you really, like I said, you have to observe it. You have to step back and you have to go and take a minute and probably just, I notice with me, it works out better when I just quiet all the noise that's surrounding me. If I can go and just sit someplace and just be quiet, or go take a ride and just be quiet. That's the time that God has to recondition your thoughts. That's the time that God has to give you those moments where He can speak to you and send that message to you. And it may be somebody walking up to you, saying something to you about one day, I think it was my wife picked out my outfit everywhere I went. Boy, you look nice. Man, I like that outfit. Boy, that looks good. And that's a sign as well, just to tell me, that's something that you have to appreciate, because she just didn't pull out anything. She wanted you to look good. She wanted you to look nice. So when we walk away being frustrated so many times, these are the examples that can pop into your face just to tell you that should be appreciated.
She ain't that
Did you
bad.
call her and tell her thank you? Did you tell her how many people approach you, how nice she looked? I told one, what was it? I told the man, I said, my wife picked it out. He said, well, she did a good job. So then
Yeah.
my wife walked up and he said, you did a good job with my outfit. He said, yep, you really did. You did a good job.
Yeah. I think that's another part of the conversation is to when you're dealing with relationships, personally, I feel like we both have perfections and we both have flaws. So when we're learning that dealing with flaws, like don't point out you did this and you did that.
Keeping score.
It's like I know what I did, you know what I did, but instead, this is the trick: is to build around it because nobody want to work at no job where you keep telling me how bad I am. Because I'm going to quit. I'm not going to give you my best effort. Your team is not going to want to work with you when you don't give them the confidence to say, you know what, I notice it, but I'm going to focus on their strengths. The more I focus on their strengths, those weaknesses, they don't disappear, but I'm not focusing on them so strongly. Like anything you focus on is going to intensify. Like my husband was saying with power, if you have a lot of power, if you put too much power to one of these plugs, it's going to knock out
It's
all the
gonna
power.
suffocate.
So when you're full of power all the time, you usually going to have an outburst. And that's because
Great example.
you have too much power. And so when you humble yourself, you're coming under subjection to God. So that power is calm. It's
It's
not as
lesson.
it's not as it's not as intense. When you can come up under the submission of God, you're more easy. You're not your turbulence is not high. Your turbulence will go probably from 1 to 4. But if you're full of power, you're going straight to 20. And that point, you can't see clearly.
And power is nothing but ego and
Mm-mm.
pride most of the time.
I'm telling you, power,
Power kills you.
power can get you somewhere fast, but it can kill you slow. You know how like some people have a way of, throwing their weight around or being a type of way. They can only be that way for so long because you know what happens? Usually they make everybody get away from them. Who wants to be around that type of power? And so you can only have uh, power where there's no light. Like if we're a light and I'm a light, we just a light.
Mhm.
But if I'm in the dark and you full of power all the time, you never shut off. You
I'm
never
be drained.
chilling.
I'm gonna
You're
be drained.
drained. So my light might be dim, but it's gonna continue to flow like a fluorescent light
But the
versus.
good thing is when you're working in unison, when my power gets burnt out,
Mhm,
that's when my wife light can brighten
mhm,
us up.
mhm,
So
mhm,
that's the key of learning how to love and lead with love.
mhm,
Because with like she said, too much power,
mhm,
you're gonna blow something out.
mhm,
And that's the problem with us men. We're blowing out our hearts.
mhm.
We're having heart attacks. We're having strokes
Strokes.
because we're so busy trying to control every single thing in
Mhm.
the world that surrounds us that we're losing ourselves.
But can you talk a little bit about leading versus control. And I want y'all to listen because there's a difference between controlling something and leading.
I feel you should lead by example,
Hmm.
and that's something that most of us don't do. And like I said, that was a conversation at the barbershop, and I explained to men, you can't expect your child to respect you on a certain level when you're being disrespectful to that child on so many different levels.
Hmm.
So because you say do what I say, but you're not even living by the code that you want them to live by.
Hmm.
You're not being honest to them. You're not honest to your wife and your relationship. So many of us have so many things going on outside of our relationships, extramarital affairs, extra this. We think it's cool.
Hmm.
So now our just because that's not his mom, that doesn't mean he doesn't see how you move.
Hmm.
And if he's watching how you move and you're okay with him being promiscuous out here, and I tell young men, be honest. I tell grown men, be honest. If you don't want to be in a committed relationship, tell that person. Sometimes that person will wait for you if they believe you have something that's genuine. But we have to start being accountable as men for the lives that we are part of. You can't just feel like what you do don't affect them.
Hmm.
And I think that's the biggest respect that I get from my boys is the fact that they see how I move.
Hmm.
I'm not just talking. I'm going to show you. I got to lead by example. And that's taking the power out of it because now I got to humble myself to be in a position to do what I'm supposed to do in a righteous manner so they can see it. I'm not just trying to show off. I'm
Hmm.
not just doing it to make myself look good. No, I'm doing it for my kids to trust me. And
Hmm.
that's the key.
Hmm.
When there's no trust, there's no respect. So you're pushing for respect. Oh, I'm your daddy. You listen to me. You gonna respect me. No, that's not how it works with
Hmm.
this new generation. This new generation don't operate like that.
The zing zings are not with it.
Because you had me, I gotta respect you.
Mm.
Ooh, that's a new rule to these kids because they don't see that in no type of way.
Me either.
But let me tell you, when you step up and you represent what you speak about, you ain't gotta pressure them to give you that respect.
Hmm.
You ain't gotta push them into showing that respect for you because they're gonna want to give it
Hmm.
because you're giving it to them.
I think.
So now it's reciprocated. Now it's universal. Now it's we're in unison together. So even when I gotta be hard, even if I gotta come down tough on you, you still able to sit back and say, one thing I know is he's not gonna tell me nothing that he's not willing to do.
Hmm.
And that's the biggest thing about being in charge and just being in
Leader
power.
versus control. And I think when you control things, like my husband was saying, it's like you do it and I don't because I'm the boss.
Yeah.
But I think when you're a leader, even when the discipline is necessary, your family can understand it because I understand that you love me. I understand that you care for me. And so I think as people, and I think this is for husband and wives as well. We've discussed this in different podcasts, but I do feel like, being a leader is hard and it's stressful at times. But I think it's,
Yeah, I see my headline.
I think it's, um, leadership should be shared
Mhm.
because if it's not, it's going to be exhausting.
Like she said, overpower.
When you overpower, you have to learn to live and let live. And that's something I'm learning as well, is that you're not in control of your children, you're not in control of traffic, you're not even, only thing you can control is your mind, and you usually do a part-time job on that. And so the less you try to control, the better off you feel. Um, really, really diligently trying to wake up in good spirits, go to bed in good spirits. But even throughout your day, when you really kind of just fall back and watch, you can see how I've been practicing not to intervene, just to, allowing things to just go.
We both have.
And usually it works out even better because now you haven't intervened. I feel like personally with
Can I
the,
interrupt you 1 second? That intervening is like we intervene with our own lives. So if you allow life to move you and not you're trying to move it,
hmm
everything flows into your direction. Everything will gravitate towards you. But
hmm
we're so busy trying to be in control of everything.
everything, everyone, everybody. And what happens
And
is
really you out of control.
you end up, I'm telling you, you know what ends up happening? You stunt your own growth
Hmm.
because you're not working on self.
You're too
You're so
busy.
busy telling it like my
Hmm.
husband know my phone can ring, bang your phone ringing. I don't have a social complex. I can socialize fine,
And she
but
know mine don't even ring unless it's work.
I know that I have so much to give away, but I have boundaries because I understand that I give off light. I can't give off so much light that I'm depleted and I'm in a dark place myself.
Hmm.
Sometimes we can be the light for others and not be the light for ourselves. Now we're frustrated with them because we feel like that we're indebted from them to do so much for us. But all you had to do was just kind of back up that day and just took that time to relax, take a nap, or listen to some music that you like.
And a
Just
perfect example is when you get a phone call and you're acting frustrated in your home, but you get a phone call, and we have done it.
mm,
Hey, how you doing? What's going on,
mm,
man? Blah 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 blah. Blah. You good? As soon as you get off the phone, you right back.
mm,
Don't do that.
mm.
Give that same energy to the ones that you're around.
To you, mostly to yourself, because what you give to yourself, you're gonna give to others. Like if you treat yourself well and you love yourself,
You're gonna love
you're
others.
gonna love others. Like I don't have to be the star in the room. I don't have to be the know-it-all. I was praying Thursday all day. I've been praying a lot. I just been in like deep thought, just seeking God. And I woke up Friday morning, and it's like God said, "You have heart." And so when I woke up, I'm like, "I have heart." And so I start thinking about that. You know how God he gives you bits and pieces of what
Hmm.
he wants you to see.
Hmm.
And so I'm like, I have heart. And then as the day went on, you don't have to be the prettiest. You don't have to be the tallest or the slimmest or the fastest or the smartest. But if you have the heart that is seeking God, you're gonna be a winner. You already are a winner.
That's the power.
And that's what you need.
That's the
You
power.
have to have the heart to do the unthinkable, trusting in God. You have to be able to have the tenacity to do the unthinkable that nobody else thinks gonna work. That's what faith looks like. Faith is not just
And you have to represent that person that no one thinks is the person.
mm-hmm,
The people that we see and you think gonna come never shows up.
mm-mm.
But the one you least expect
That ram in the bush.
is the one that's right there riding with you, handling things, helping you.
Mm-hmm.
So understand that putting that pressure on yourself to be a better person. And not pressure. Just learning how to live and let live.
Mm-hmm.
That's a main thing, even within your relationship. It's hard in a relationship because
Do you feel
we're
like it affects you?
those titles,
Mm-hmm.
I'm the man. So I do, I. That's selfish.
Mm-hmm.
When you throw the I out the window and realize that it's us, and I gotta be beneficial for you. I gotta be peaceful and loving for you. I gotta help our love,
Thrive.
thrive and rejuvenate and stay living.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I'm not pouring into it, like she said, I do a lot. It's I do a lot unto God. It's
Mm-hmm.
not for us. It's not for a title. Most of the time, I'm gonna tell you, people don't know what we do. They really don't. They
Sometimes
don't have a clue
if you
what
knew.
all we be doing throughout a day because we're not broadcasting. We're
Mm-mm.
not bragging about it. We're not telling everybody. I want the person that's in need to see this is a resemblance of what God is to me.
You know, not to cut you off, babe, but I was thinking, and
We got 5 minutes to count down.
I said, God, I had ran into this crazy person going into the hospital. Woo-hoo. And I and I thought, I said, God, thank you for not letting them be God. Thank you for being God. And in reality, I thought about myself, that could be me someday.
Hmm.
And so when you're looking at God and different people, you have to be thankful for the ones
Give me
that
a
are,
saying, babe.
which one? You not gonna lie.
When people meet you or when people see you,
Yeah.
understand that
You
you
could be
may
you could be
be.
the closest thing that come to God. And so
So give your
sometimes
best.
give your best, like not to be fake, like
Mm.
with me, you may see me, when they say, oh, women of God or elders, or you might catch me in some Jordan sweatpants and a t-shirt with basketball mom on it or basketball shorts.
Because my
Don't.
wife is the brute. I'm the one. You better be looking for me because I'm the one that can pull her back because she can be on go and I could be the one like, babe, come on now. It ain't
don't
worth it.
don't I'm serious, y'all, like, and
Don't take
this
your
is
kindness for the weakness
this is
with this one.
this is
With neither one of us really when it comes
yeah,
down to our family.
I'm just straight laced, but I think don't discredit um the appearance of someone.
Hmm.
In the last few weeks, I've been in family members, oh, you're not feminine. And I'm like, what? I'm loving, I'm a wife, I'm a mother. And so, me, I'm a dictionary person. And feminine, um, in the dictionary says something that appears to be. Don't let something that appears to be trick you. If a person come in with a basketball cap on and jacket on and they sweat, because they didn't come in a suit and tie, just like a child of God, don't let something that appears to be tricky.
But
Because
that's the thing of being a child of God.
you have to be able to recognize each other, because don't allow the illusions of what something's supposed to look like mislead you. A lot of times things that appear to come in the image of God is darkness, and it's in the darkness of there's no light. And so don't be fixated on who's God's gonna send, what he's gonna send, how he's gonna send. Just be open. And that goes back to what my husband been saying for the last 12 weeks is let it flow. You would be so amazed that God has been knocking on your door and checking your mailbox. But the fact that it does not have the envelope that you want, it's not knocking. You want it to sound like this, but he may not like this. Don't let your sound, don't let your eyes, don't let your thoughts be clouded. Just allow God to be that beautiful mystery that he is, because he is so miraculous. And don't discredit anyone. Just be open and allow God to present himself through that person. Allow him to be user. My husband's user friendly. You may see
We
him
have
in
1 minute.
Go ahead, babe.
Go ahead, babe. Finish up.
No,
Close
I'm
it
not.
out.
Well, thank y'all. We miss y'all, and may God keep loving y'all, and we will
Yes,
see
yes,
y'all.
yes. We will be back. We won't take so long to come
We
back
won't.
and give another message, but thank you for everybody that chimes in, that sends their love and support. This is definitely needed, and we're going to keep fighting for it. Black love is needed. Love in general is needed.
Peace is needed.